Systems of control are designed to protect themselves. They are fundamentally the same as biological organisms. They pull power into themselves, and they create symbiotic or parasitical relationships with their hosts, the citizenry, the users, the consumers that interact with them. And these systems of control, these power management systems, have a life of their own and a desire to live and thrive on their own. And in a time of crisis, these systems will turn on you. They will devour you for the sake of perpetuating themselves. This is the gateway that we stand at in the 21st century and in the continued evolution of human government, civilization, society. Our world will continue to become more technologically oriented and centered, and whoever controls that technology controls the world. And if you want to see a picture of the world, if you want to see a picture of what the future will be, look no further than China. They're just a little bit further down the road than the rest of the world. In many ways, the United Nations and the tech companies call China the model of the future. A world where technology is used to 100% control the population. Smart grid cities, social credit scores, artificial intelligence cataloging all of the information. Robotics and drones used to enforce the will of the machine. And most of humanity sleepwalking right into its welcoming arms. Is that the future any of us want? Is this a world where anyone could be free or happy? Or is it a world where people would just simply survive day from day to day, clutching at whatever cheap entertainment or gadget is shoved in their face to make them more compliant with their own servitude and slavery? Because that's the truth, isn't it? If you make people comfortable enough, they're more than happy to be slaves. Freedom is danger. Freedom is responsibility. Freedom is painful. The truth is many of us have already capitulated our free will and don't even realize it. Most people are happy to be debt slaves, wage slaves, as long as they have beer, pizza, and cigarettes and good video game or porno or something to take their mind off the fact of their condition. But there is something deeper, isn't there? There is something deeper in all of us. That stirring voice that cries out for more, that seeks more, that turns its face to the sun and feels the warmth of its truth. The great cry of the human race from the depths of the digital matrix as it attempts to crawl out of its shell, to escape the simulation overlaid like a warm blanket of amnesiac Xanax, simultaneously cloying us to sleep and snuffing out our will to resist. I mean, my God. This is it. This is the truth of our time. Technology utilized to dominate, dominate. Dominate. Like Darth Vader with black gloves, just reaching down onto the shoulders of humanity and clutching it and gripping it under its iron grip. It's all around us. It surrounds us. And it speaks to our laziness. It speaks to our weakness. It offers to do everything for us, to think for us, to make life simpler and easier. But when the crisis comes, it will consume us. And who knows from what vector that crisis will come? Economic, societal, geological, weather-based. Where will you have stood in the great war of the soul? Because that's what this is. It is a war for the soul of humanity. It is the war of the soul. That is the time we live in now. When human beings will either give up everything they are or become everything they ever could be. And in China, the first volleys of that war have fallen on an unsuspecting and conquered people. And yet, even in that totalitarian regime, the whispers of the desire for freedom exist. In Hong Kong, for the last so many months, they've been waving American flags and singing the U.S. national anthem, crying out to the world for their own liberation, and the echoes of that being felt across the entire Chinese empire. And now this, a biological nightmare, shaking the very foundations of that society to its core. And who knows what can come from this? There's so many trajectories and vectors that this can go along. Everything's balanced on the knife head. And that's the way our future is. And that's the flavor of our time. As we're balanced on a knife edge, where human will and decision and the human spirit, and whether it truly is worthy and strong to overcome that darkness and embrace the light. Because for every negative of these technological and technotronic systems that exist, there's a positive. For the first time in human history, we have the technology to truly create independent, abundant civilizations. Communities organized around truly ecological and empowering principles, where we don't have to rob or rape the planet or destroy our environment to live a quality of life that has very rarely ever been achieved. But it is now at that exponential moment. And that's the other truth of our time, is these moments and these events will only continue to come faster and faster and faster. Where we will be propelled into the future. And we have to make a choice. You have to choose what kind of future you want. And the apathetic and the ignorant, they made their choice, and then their choice will be made for them. But right now, the unveiling, the revealing of the beast system is happening right now. The use of technology to control entire populations has begun. It began with the implementation of the very networks that are utilized to create the communications backbone, and that has occurred over the last generation. And now the next generation will be the implementation of the physical extension of the control mechanism from that network into reality. So eventually, the same way that Google and the mainstream and YouTube can control the dissemination of ideas across their platforms, now into the physical world, does the physical component of control become unveiled. Drones, robotics, policing and military enforcement by drones and robotics controlled by artificial intelligence. It's here. It's here. It's being built all around us every day. We're told that it's for our own good. We're told that it's going to make things better. We're told that it's going to make things more efficient and easier. And yet, our political and economic class has shown us nothing. Nothing over the last 100 years, over the last 1,000 years, over the last 10,000 years that they could ever, that they could ever be trusted with this power. This power cannot be trusted to anyone. The power to monitor all ideas, the power to monitor all people, the power to understand each individual's thoughts, the power to control all information flowing from one individual to another across the world.